All right, guys. So today we're gonna go through and figure out what's wrong with this Dewalt. It's actually fixed right now, but come to find out, there was a fuse blown in it, and also the reason why the fuse was blown was because of this rock stuck in the motor. We'll take this thing apart and show you what's going on. So first thing I did was went ahead and took this top off here. And then you need to take this canister off here by twisting it. And then in here there is, I think, 6 or 7 screws. One here, one there, one here, 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 and here on the bottom of this plate. You'll go ahead and unscrew those, pull this plate off, and that's going to show you the motor and the switch and everything else. So once we get that off, we'll get back to you and show you what's going on there. I didn't video it earlier also, but once you take this plate off, there's going to be a circuit board that's attached on here, and it's attached up here on this side. And you also, there's 3 screws in that you'll have to take out to get that open enough where you can actually work on the circuit. So I'm going to show you the power leads coming off of it, and the fuse is on the negative lead coming off of the switch. So I'll show you that here in a second, and you'll be able to see what's going on there. So hold tight. Alright guys, so inside your Dewalt vacuum here, on your negative lead, this is your negative lead coming from your switch. If you follow, you got red's going to come off the positive. This is one of the models that can go off 18 volt or 20 volt. So the red one here is the positive, or it comes off the positive of the 18 volt. Comes over, goes into the switch, and then whenever you switch your switch back and forth, it switches the power to come to this lead that goes down to your little circuit board. So on the negative side here, if you follow this brown wire, it comes down and then it comes to a little pigtail here that'll connect to the bottom of your fan motor. So it connects to this side of your fan motor. Mine, the switch isn't working, so what I found, I tested everything, tested the red LED or red wires, made sure the power came through, and I tested the negative on this side. You can see on the bottom of the switch, if I put the battery in, put the positive to the positive here and the negative to the negative on the brown on the post, when I switched it, I got 19 volts. But I didn't get 19 volts at the end whenever I put my lead here, or my probe here. So now I found, you can see it has a fuse in here. So I went ahead and I took my meter here, and then you can put it on continuity. It's this one here. And then what happens is, whenever you touch 2 probes together, it makes a sound, right? So if I touched the probe here on the terminal on the switch, actually let me stick it in the end of this first. So I'll stick it on the end of here first, showing this should work here. So if this was a continuous wire, whenever I touch this down here, it should buzz. Well, since it's fused, since this fuse is probably blown, it's not giving us a solid connection, so it's not giving us that beep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this open and look here and see if this fuse is blowed or not. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that open now. Just using a razor blade here. If you do this, be careful. I didn't don't have my X-Acto knife anywhere, so just use caution when doing this. Go ahead and peel this back here. Sure enough, they did wire solder a fuse in between this line. Sure enough, it's blowed too, so, or it's blown, whatever you want to say. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it is definitely blown. So to check a fuse, you check a fuse the same way. A fuse is supposed to act like a straight wire. It's just a thinner piece of wire in between. That way, if you have too much amperage going through here, it will blow that fuse and protect the circuit, or protect whatever you're trying to protect. So you can see no juice or no buzz between, right? But if I touch this, it should buzz. See, and then it doesn't go through. So all we got to do is find out what size fuse this is and replace it with a different style fuse, or really you could probably just take this and solder this wire back together from that side to this side, and you'd be good to go. So I'm going to see if I have a fuse. If I don't have a fuse, I'll go ahead and just solder the wire back together, but stay tuned here, we'll see what happens. Okay, so I went ahead and cut this fuse out of here, and since it is blown, I checked the voltage and the amperage that's written on the side here of this fuse. This is an inline fuse. It's 125 volt and 15 amp. So I need to find something that's close to that. So I ended up getting me one of these Bussmann ATC blade fuse holders, and that's what I had in the shed. So I have a 10 amp fuse. You can buy these in 15 amp also, but I'm gonna go ahead and put a 10 amp in there. So I'm basically just gonna solder this in where this brown wire comes out between there, and then I'll install this 10 amp fuse, and that should get us going again. So give me a minute here, I'll get this all stripped down and we'll solder that in. Alright guys, I'm going to solder my connections. I got a little flux here. You guys wouldn't have to solder this, you could probably just go ahead and wrap it and then tape it up, but I feel better with it soldered here. I'll just take you some electrical solder. Okay guys, so I got it wired and taped up there. You can see we're connected on the brown side. We have it connected back up on the motor there. So we're gonna go ahead and try this out here. So let's go ahead and put the spade fuse in. That should give us the connection. These are pretty tight too. Okay, so actually, since we got our meter still set to continuity, let's go ahead and let's test this circuit first. So, I'm gonna go ahead and stick one side on the end where the fuse is at, and then one on the end here. It should ring. Okay, so we're getting continuity from the end now to the end of the wire on the switch. Okay, so let's hook this in here, and instead of sticking it straight to the motor, let's go ahead and turn this to voltage. If you guys can see that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick the battery in, and if I stick the battery in, if the switch is on, I don't know if it's on or not, but if I stick the battery in, we should be getting our 20 volts or probably 18 or something, depending on what the battery voltage is. So let's try this out here. And there we go. Yep, almost 20 volts. So in theory, I should be able to switch this and it should go to 0. There we go. All right. So now our vacuum should work. So let me get this stuck back together, and then we'll see if it works. All right, guys, so I went ahead and I hooked this back together, and I turned the switch, and I guess what happened, it blew this fuse instantly. So I'm thinking maybe that our motor is shorted out. So I'm gonna get an alligator clip. I'm gonna try and see if it'll start or not. So we'll see what happens here. All right, guys. So I did stick an alligator clip on the motor and then onto the switch, just to direct fire that little motor. And I did find out that that motor is either bad or it's locked or something's going on. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that apart and see if there's something stuck in it or something else is going on, because it blew that fuse right away. So something's either gotta be blocking it or that motor is totally bad. So we'll see about maybe replacing that now. All right, so I got this bottom panel off. Let's go ahead and take this motor out. See what the deal is with it. Like we got a couple screws here on the bottom. Okay. Well, that could have been the problem. Rock in the motor definitely would stop it. It looks like it is beated up a little bit. So I'm betting that is what happened. Huh. So I guess look out for rocks in there, guys. Bet you that was it. That blew our fuse. Okay, let's get this thing screwed back in here. Okay guys, let's get this motor hooked back up after we got the rock out of there. Hook that up. And I'm gonna go ahead and hook it up with an alligator clip here real quick, since we don't have a fuse right this second. Okay, so I got her hooked up there, so you can see. Okay. Let's go ahead and get this battery in here. I'm just going to use the same one out of my drill here. Okay, cross your fingers. Alright, looky there. I think we're going to work. Alright, I'm going to run out and get me another blade 10 amp fuse here. Test it one more time with it sitting here on the bench, and then or on the table, and then we'll see what happens here. All right guys, so I went out there, I found a 20 amp fuse, so not ideal. Hopefully won't blow anything up, but let's try this one more time. Let's see what happens. Alright, looks like she works. Alright, I'm just gonna put it all back together and we'll test it out whenever it's done. Alright guys, I got this thing back together and we're gonna go ahead and test her back out and see if she works again. So let me stick a battery in here. Alright. Alright guys, we're back in business. Good deal.